James Lynch here for Fightful with Josh Rafferty, who helped Jake Hager train for this camp. And he's also a pretty famous guy. He was on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. And Josh, it's so great to talk to you. Your season was the season that got me to be an MMA fan. So it's actually really cool for me to talk to you. But first, I know you've had a lot going on since you left your MMA career. You've been doing some coaching, I know, not just with MMA fighters, but with wrestlers as well. How did you get into that?
You know what? There was a period of time when I was finishing up my MMA career. I kind of got involved in pro wrestling myself. So I started learning I got trained in pro wrestling, learned how to work matches and stuff, and then I became friends with a lot of the guys. Then in 2011, I moved down to Tampa with Dave Batista to start a gym, and as everybody knows, there's a lot of people in the wrestling business live in Tampa, so from there I just started training a lot of the guys coming in and working with me, so I've kind of built a good relationship with a lot of the guys in WWE and helping them out with a lot of their cross-training.
I take it you were a fan of wrestling growing up.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of wrestling growing up.
Who were your guys? Who did you like watching?
Oh, man, I mean, if you're talking about the 80s, I love the Road Warriors. Brian Pillman was my favorite wrestler ever. Brian Pillman. I loved Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, of course. Ric Flair, Sting, Stone Cold, all those guys, man. That was a big.
That's an all-star lineup right there. Yeah, no, it's great. So Jake Hager, I know you guys go way back. You were the first guy he called. What did that mean to you? Just for going to you and saying, "Look, help train me."
Oh, it was awesome. I was excited about it, man. It was not every day you get to work with a guy that's that high level, coming from another realm of entertainment with pro wrestling, plus his background with college football and college wrestling. I mean, the guy's had thousands of amateur wrestling matches, so to get to work with a guy like that, it's really special. It's cool, man. Plus, we were friends on top of it, so it was awesome, man. I was really excited for him.
How has his transition been? It bothers me when people say, "Oh, it's like CM Punk," because Jake actually had a collegiate background and all that stuff. How was his transition in your opinion?
I feel like it was really smooth. 12 years away from competition's hard, though. We had to get him back and get in the ring, get on the mat every day, get used to competing again, because entertainment with pro wrestling is completely different. You know what I mean? It's a night and day. So I thought the transition was smooth, man. He was in there. At first it was a little difficult because he's still on the road, still wrestling, every weekend and stuff. But once we started the camp, man, he got in awesome shape, and he brought it, man. It was great. It was really smooth, I think.
Do you still watch pro wrestling now?
Yeah, I try to watch wrestling.
Who do you like right now? Obviously, Becky Lynch is the talk. What do you enjoy about the industry right now?
You know what? I feel like the pro wrestling industry is starting to get a little bit more excitement going. Of course, the social media kind of highlights that a little bit. People like Becky Lynch are real popular now. But also, the indie wrestling with Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and, the new wrestling league they're starting. That's pretty cool. So I feel like wrestling right now is kind of like getting to be how it was in the late 90s. It's starting to get a little bit of excitement. You're going to have another league. You don't know what guy's going where. I think we're kind of getting on the cusp of that right now. It's pretty cool. So that's what I like. Samoa Joe is probably my favorite guy to watch right now, though.
Okay, interesting. That's a good choice. Why did you leave your MMA career? Because you just had, I think, a couple fights after the TUF finale. Yeah. What made you come to that decision?
Yeah, well, what happened with me is, I had a couple fights. I had a couple good fights, actually, after the TUF finale. Once I was released by the UFC, that's when I started getting into wrestling. But I had a really bad neck injury in 2010. So I broke my neck training, actually, and I didn't know about it. And I continued to fight. Actually, my last fight was in Bellator, and I fought that fight with a really bad neck injury. And after that, I had neck surgery, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to do this again. I was 30 years old. I was done wrestling, done MMA. I wanted to do coaching. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to do. I had a job in the real world and stuff. So it's like I wasn't for sure what I was going to do, but I wanted to do. Got involved in jiu-jitsu again and started rolling every day. I still train a lot, and I wanted to train for another fight. And then I got hit by a truck, so I had another neck injury. So just too many injuries, too much wear and tear. And I started really young. I had my first fight when I was 17. I had 2 fights before I turned 18, and that's back before it was even called MMA. It was in the late 90s and stuff. So this is a wear and tear, and just got kind of burned out. Really wanted to do something different.
Do you feel like you got kind of a raw deal on TUF because you had to fight Diego? And I know you guys were friends, and it seemed to me, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Did it mentally play on you just that you guys were friends? It seemed like you really didn't want to fight him.
You know what? At the time, I didn't want to fight him. I didn't. I just and it was more of like, look, I train with this guy every day, twice a day. He knows everything I do. I know everything he does. But that's the nature of the show as well. So it's like more of me just kind of being a bitch about it a little bit, looking back at it. But you had to fight somebody, and at that point, I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it right now. Let's fight him. At the time, I thought I matched up well with him, which obviously I didn't.
I mean, mentally, you got to be 100% going in.
Mentally, you got to be 100% going in, and you know, knowing it's weird. You know, when going into the fight, you watch videos of the guy, you prep for a guy, you hear stories, or this guy's good at this. But on that show, we really knew everything. We knew each other in and out, and I think that's why some of the fights weren't as good. You know, you train with everybody every day, you kind of know their tricks. But it was a weird experience overall. But man, I really liked it. It you know, made me a better person, a better fighter too. You know.
Who do you still keep in touch with from that cast at all?
It's funny you say we just did a reunion show back in August, and it was really cool to see each other. But who I keep in touch with Stephan Bonner. Him and I are really good friends. Alex Schonauer, Chili Dog. I keep in touch with him. Nate Quarry, I talk to still. Kenny Florian, every once in a while we hit each other on social media. But that's about it for the most part. Kind of everybody kind of went their own way. Chuck Liddell, I talk to Chuck every once in a while. You know, he was like one of my idols for a while. I love Chuck, man. He's somebody I looked up to a lot. You know.
And I know being from Ohio, I used to work with Rich Franklin a bit. Are you guys still in touch?
Yeah. Rich and I are still friends. You know, I was in Rich's wedding. We had our first. Rich and I watched UFC 3 together. That's how long we've known each other. So yeah, we're like brothers, man. So we don't talk for a while. It's just we don't skip a beat. You know.
How do you see this fight ending on Saturday with Jake? Obviously, we know him for his wrestling, but I'm sure his striking is really honed up as well. How do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, I think Saturday night. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to be a very violent, bloody finish. I think you're going to see some very, very intense ground and pound, some stuff you haven't seen for a while. So that's my prediction.
Thanks so much for the time, man.